You might be familiar with this bait. That's the Tackle HD Worldwide Buzzer. You might be familiar with this face. That's professional angler James Worldwide Watson. Today we'll learn more about the incredible story behind James Watson and find out a little more about his signature buzzbait. Welcome to the Tackle HD podcast. I found a bio on the Major League Fishing website, so I'm going to read it to you and kind of get your reaction and see like what is it missing. And what they said is, Missouri native James Watson is the only professional angler in the world who can claim to be both a former drill sergeant in the U.S. Army and a Bass Pro Shops Open winner. Watson won the Bass Pro Shops Central Open in 2015 and also claimed the 2016 FLW Invitational on Lake Norris, Tennessee. Watson's a member of the USA Bass Fishing Team. Does that pretty much cover it? Are you happy with that?
Well, that's what they wrote up, and those are all facts. I believe they did their research. I don't know if there's any other Bassmaster Open, champion that was a drill sergeant or whatever, but they chose to write it up that way, and I didn't argue with them.
All right. Well, first, let's get into your various nicknames, and I'm just kind of curious what they mean, where they came from. So we'll start with Worldwide. That's what you chose to put as your name on our screen here. So Worldwide, how did that come about?
Oh, that's my name. Cody Meyer and I come up with it quite a few years ago, and pretty much stopped using my last name altogether, and people just started calling me Worldwide. But the JMFW come about, Cody Meyer, in that same time frame, pulls up to me at a tournament and says, "Oh, if it ain't James, Mother, beat Watson," and because we tend to get a little radical with our speech out there.
Sure.
And I said, "Yeah, I'm worldwide, baby," and he said, "Yes, you are. From now on, you're worldwide." So that's how that come about, and that was 6, 7, 8 years ago. So, and I decided to just run with Worldwide because of my marketing background back in the real estate business, and just how important, branding is to anybody that's trying to sell something, trying to market something. And most of all, I try to market my personality, and Worldwide's the best way I could come up with that consistent branding.
So the guys back at the Tackle HD headquarters told me that you live on the water down at Table Rock. Is that accurate?
Yep.
How long have you been down there?
I bought my place down here in 2011, and I've been living here full time since 2016.
So where did you grow up, and how did fishing kind of, become such a big part of your life?
Well, I grew up went to high school in a town called Miller, Missouri, and lived with my mom and my stepfather. Grew up in Miller, and my dad and all of my father's side of the family lived in Shell Knob, Missouri, which is up the lake from where I'm living at now on Table Rock Lake. So I grew up bass fishing Table Rock, and grew up crappie fishing with I grew up fishing with both my dads. My dad, who passed away last year, he was a very successful local and regional tournament fisherman for bass. And my stepfather, I got two dads. Where we grew up, we were really close to Stockton Lake, and he was a big crappie fisherman, and we hunted. We quail hunt, we rabbit hunt, and he still to this day raises some world-class beagle hounds. And so I had the best of both worlds growing up, hunting and fishing. That's basically what I did, and carried that through my young adult life into now. I don't hunt as much as I used to, but I do shoot a lot of guns. Still got a lot of guns, a lot of ARs. That's kind of my little hobby now, is black rain ordnance, shooting black rain ordnance ARs, whether it be a 5.56 or 308. Um, that's kind of what I'm into now when I'm not fishing. I pretty much don't have time to go hunting as much because I like to fish during that deer season.
Yeah. So you are a military veteran. So first off, thank you for your service. Talk to me a little bit about your time in the Army, and I know you actually climbed the ranks pretty high in that. Yes, where were you at? What kind of things were you doing?
Yeah, the time I spent in the Army, I got into March of 1993. I'd been out of high school, uh, a little over a year and a half. I bounced around, didn't know what I was wanting to do, and went broke fishing. Just didn't have any resources to continue my uh, the way I wanted to. So I said, to hell with it. And I went to the Army recruiter. I'd been running some heavy equipment for an old boy around Springfield. And I went in the Army recruiter and they said, well, we got these jobs right here. And what do you like to do? And I said, I like to run backhoes and dozers and big trucks and stuff like that because I know in the market, out here on the civilian side, it's a good living. And they said, well, we got just a job for you, son. I said, all right, let's do this. I signed up, and man, 3 weeks later, I was off to Fort Leonard Wood to do basic training. And that's where I really found my calling in life was the time I spent in the Army was just an absolute blast and an absolute opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And of course, the recruiters can tell you that, but until you experience yourself and actually go in and go through basic training and get a job, you really don't know what uh, the government did right, and that is provide opportunities for people to join armed forces.
So at the start of that story, you said you were going broke fishing. Before you entered the military, were you trying to make a go of it as a professional
No,
fisherman?
no, I
Okay.
wasn't trying to make a go of it. I was just trying to make a go going from weekend to weekend around here. And if you can't make it financially around the house, there is no way you're going to make it regionally or on the national level. So
Gotcha.
off I went.
How long were you in the Army?
Almost 9 years. And one experience. Just again, I talked to a lot of high school kids, and haven't so much since COVID. But I always try to tell the story of what uh, life's opportunities. You really don't know. Sometimes opportunities are in front of you, but I know when I was stationed at Fort Drum, New York, I used to uh, throw in the back of my truck 8 big trash cans, and every Friday late or early Saturday mornings, I'd jump in my truck, and Fridays and Saturdays, and I'd go around all the dumpsters of the barracks at Fort Drum in the 10th Mountain Division, and jump in the dumpsters and pick up cans and bottles just to make some extra cash. And every weekend, I'd make $250, $400 cash, and so I had a little freedom to do things financially, and then you know, I got stationed at Fort Leonard Wood in 1997 and re-enlisted. Wanted to better myself, and got to Fort Leonard Wood in 1997. And lo and behold, I was at my first unit, and a Humvee pulls up. This is a few weeks after I was in the paper for doing real good in a BFL, which back then was the Red Man. And first sergeant jumps out and asks for Sergeant Watson, and I came down there, and he said, "Get your going with me." And all right, I was like, "Okay, where are we going, First Sergeant?" He said, "You're working for me." And as I'm driving back to Bravo Company, Fifth Engineer, I said, "Hey, First Sergeant, how'd you come across me? I just got here." And he said, "Well, I saw you in the paper. I like to hunt and fish, and I need a assault and obstacle platoon sergeant or a squad leader. Come on in, and you're going to work for me." And his name's First Sergeant Ray Pruitt, still a friend of mine to this day. Give me an opportunity I didn't even know was there, all because of fishing. And
Wow.
I had, and I'm just going on about my story here, giving
Yeah.
credit where credit's due. First
Do
Sergeant
it.
Pruitt had a tree service, and every weekend I'd go drag brush for him. He'd give me $100 bill every day. I'd drag brush with him, and I took that money that I won from that tournament I did well in. I played my closing costs on my first house I bought, and I bought a riding lawnmower. And first sergeant knew I bought this riding lawnmower, and he said, "Watson, I need you to mow my yard so Carol doesn't have to." I said, "All right, first sergeant." Carol's his wife, and he was gone temporary duty. I said, "All right." I'll get over there, and he's getting ready to leave, and he hands me $40, and I'm like, $40 for a sergeant, that's a lot of money. I wouldn't charge you half that, and I wouldn't charge you anything. He said, "Oh no, this 20's for me and 20's for the lieutenant next door." I said, "Okay." And lo and behold, there's another opportunity come about. I started with those few yards, and before the end of the summer was over, I had 80 yards on post. And doing full-time Army, mowing 80 yards, wearing the wheels out of an MTD riding lawnmower. I mean, making some good money, and it just evolved from there. And then the next year, I bought a grasshopper and a big commercial mower, paid cash for it. Then I had 3 of them. Then I had every drill sergeant on Fort Leonard Wood working for me, and it just kept evolving from there. In the 5th Engineers, I got an opportunity for leadership advancement, sent to drill sergeant school, sapper leader school. Then I went on trail as a drill sergeant and kept on my lawn business. I kept it going, and just opportunity after opportunity. The nice lady Shirley at Remax, who I mowed yards for, she said, "Man, if you ever get out of the Army, you can sell real estate," and that's how the real estate business got started. So, in a nutshell, that's how I got to where I'm at today.
Okay, so yeah, you went right into my next question. Was, it's early 2000s, you get out of the Army, you wrap up your commitment, and you started selling real estate. Just as like that's what you were doing. You were an agent going out, taking people on tours, writing up contracts, trying to sell houses. That's what you were doing.
That's right. And Shirley, when I worked there in St. Robert, Missouri, you probably know where that's at, right there at Fort Leonard Wood. And I asked her when I got my license right after I got out. My first day of terminal leave was 9/11, by the way. So I had to sit down with my sergeant major and discuss whether I needed to stay in the Army or get out of the Army. And my sergeant major at the time looked at me and said, "Sergeant Watson," he says, "unlike a lot of the people that have spent the time that you have in the Army, they really don't have a plan when they get out of the Army." He said, "You got a plan to get out of the Army. Your boots were filled well before this decision to get out of the Army. Your boots are filled." He says, "You need to go ahead and get out of the Army. We hate to lose a good service member, a good soldier, but," he said, "get out." And I went to Shirley, told her I was getting out. She said, "Get your license." I went and got my license. And boom, I said, "Now what's next?" I showed up with my license. She says, "Well, let everybody know you're a realtor with us." And I sent a letter out to all my customers. And at that time, I had about 170 to 190 customers in the lawn business.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I sent a letter out to every customer I had. And about the first 10 days or week or so, I was as a licensed agent there. I had 6 listings laying on her desk. And a few days after that, I'd actually wrote a contract on one of the listings. And I didn't know what I was doing, but it was fairly easy to explain to anybody that the value of owning a home versus renting one at Fort Leonard Wood, still to this day, is a great value, because you can pay $300 or $400 more a month to rent that house than you can to own it. And then when you leave Fort Leonard Wood, if the market's good, sell it. If the market's not so good, rent it. And that is how I ended up doing well in real estate, from that opportunity that Shirley Spencer gave me to sell real estate. And I learned real quick how to explain the value of home ownership to service members. And it was a lot easier for me to talk to service members because of the time I spent with them. And while all this is going on, of course, I'm still trying to fit a few days in there to go fishing and this and that. And but that's how the real estate stuff really started getting rolling. And before you know it, I've got a broker buddy of mine searching for a franchise. I bought a Realty Executives franchise, opened up my own office, and never looked back. I mean, yeah, I still to this day own Realty Executives with my partner now. I got a partner since I started fishing full time in 2013. My partner, Dave and Jen Holbrook. Dave and
That's right.
Jen helping me, or actually just running the real estate business. So it's been awesome.
And you were still, like you said, still to this day, you are very involved in real estate. Have you, are you one of these guys who has been like acquiring properties? I know that seems to be the big thing now is people acquiring rental properties. No?
No, and I'm not as involved in my real estate office since I've been fishing full time. Dave and Jen are the ones that are charged of that, and I'm around for consultation. I'm around for uh, office parties and stuff like that, and that's about it. But no, I owned a few properties with some partners up there. We sold them last year. I didn't want to compete with my customers. Which not only do we have sales, we have full service property management. I have two brokerages, and uh, I didn't, I didn't want people to like other offices and other brokerages in town. Their brokers owned a lot of rental properties. Well, me, that's kind of a conflict because if I own a bunch of rental properties and I own a property management company and you want to put your property in my place, I'm going to fill mine up first and yours is going to get seconds. So I didn't dabble. I flipped some houses, but I didn't dabble in owning and renting. So
I read in interviews that you kind of, waited until the real estate thing was really taking off and you were doing well with it. And then you kind of allowed your success there to fund your professional fishing career. And I completely understand that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching who don't truly understand how the professional, tournament fishing works. They see the logos all over the shirts and the hats and the boats, and they probably assume that you guys are completely taken care of and you're just out there fishing. And that's really not the case at all. Explain a little bit, the reality of that in, what is on your shoulders to be
well,
out there fishing.
well, you have to be a good fisherman. You don't have to be the best fisherman. You have to be a good fisherman to make it to through the ranks. I will. I've always had a caveman mentality about myself. I always made sure that I had a savings account. I made sure I didn't carry a debt load. I mean, this has been ever since I was a young man. Some of the things I was taught by my dad, my grandpa's, is always have some cash on hand. Don't carry a big debt load. If you don't need it, don't go borrow to get it. So I would borrow money for a car once in a while, and of course a house payment sometimes. Uh, so once I felt I was really good and burnt out on the real estate side of things and dealing with people who didn't understand the word no. Um, instead of coming to work every day, the checks were good. Don't get me wrong, but it was weighing on me. I wanted to fish more. I dabbled for 3 years on the FLW tour as a pro, and I went to Dave and Jen, said, "Look, let's become partners. I'll walk away. Call me when you need me. I want to go fish." And that's when I took the step. But I wanted to make sure that if I went out there this year and I spent $60,000, that I still had a house, that I still was able to pay my electric bill and all my other bills. And I self-funded, and I would say those first 3 years self-funded. I spent about 170 to $200,000 of my own money, and then
And that's like gas, boat
yeah,
maintenance,
entry fees,
hotel.
everything. A boat. What it costs to get the boat, and to run your truck and everything. It's very expensive. I mean, this year it's going to cost me entry fees and all to fish the Bass Pro Tour, probably over 60,000, 60 to 70,000. I mean, so I don't see how a lot of guys do it. There's a handful of guys that can do it on tournament winnings. I mean, if you really look at it, um, the tournament business is tough, and that's why there's only a couple hundred of us guys that do it, and there's a 10,000 guys that want to do it. Be careful what you wish for. I mean, when you get here, and if you know, have to live on a credit card, or if you're an older person like I am now, that you know, you better have some money put away so that you can still survive when you lose it all, because that's more than likely that's what happens to a lot of people until you get established on the business side of things. And that I found that out real quick. I knew it before I even got into the fishing, that the way to make a living in the fishing business is to acquire sponsors that want to pay you to market their product. And I've been successful at that, and I've caught enough fish to keep eyeballs on me, and that's how I make it. I don't make it off tournament winnings. If that was the case, I'd have been broke as a joke a long time ago, out of the business.
What percentage of guys do you think are able to, at the end of a year, come out ahead financially just
Probably
on
20,
tournament winnings?
probably 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And how many events would you say you do a year, roughly?
How many what?
How many pro tournaments do you fish a year?
Oh, yeah, I'll do I'll do 7 to 11 majors a year. You know, counting the USA team, we'll be on Lake Murray this fall. Um, but the Bass Pro Tour is 7 events, and then if you qualify for the Red Crest, you qualify for the heavy hitters. I did the heavy hitters this year. I'm not going to qualify for either one of them because I haven't caught a bass all freaking year long. Um, but um, you know, not counting the AAA's like the Major League Fishing Toyota Series or Bassmaster Open, you know, and then of course when I'm home I try to slide in and fish a BFL, fish some Joe Bass or Anglers in Action. I'm a big fan of Anglers in Action. Um, you know, try to slide those things in so you're staying on the water and staying fresh. And you know, sometimes guys get mad at you, get mad at me. They won't say it to my face, but they'll say it on social media. You know, what's a guy at that level coming to fish a BFL for? Well, because I make a living fishing, and to get attention, whether you're fishing a local derby or national derby, attention is attention. And last time I checked, a dollar is a dollar, and that's what I get paid to do. And I promote fishing in general, and most of the time, the way I promote it is a little more harsh than other people, and a little more real than most of them.
All right, I want to tap into both James Watson, real estate guru and fishing guru at the same time here. You have spent most of your life on Table Rock. You currently live on the water on Table Rock. If you're talking to a person who says, you know, hey, I've got a couple $100,000 to spend, I want to be on the water somewhere, and I like to fish. I'm looking at Lake of the Ozarks. I'm looking at Table Rock. You know, name your other lake in the southern Missouri. Um, what are the selling points of Table Rock specifically for somebody in that situation?
Well, Table Rock, here's what's great about Table Rock Lake. You're allowed to get really close to the lake. Not danger close, but really close. You're not so much allowed to get very close to Stockton Lake, Bull Shoals Lake, or even Beaver Lake. All right? Those are all Corps of Engineer lakes that I just mentioned. Lake of the Ozarks is a private lake, though, owned by Ameren Utilities. Grand Lake of the Cherokees, that's a private lake owned by the GRDA. Those lakes you can get closer to the water. What's unique about Table Rock is that you're allowed a certain elevation. The Corps has a map, and it shows you how close you can get. And you know, I think the elevation is 936 feet, mostly around my property. I can't encroach onto the core. Um, they've got a map around it, but that's what's great about that. I love Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, fishing's awesome. Not so much between Memorial Day and Labor Day, but between Labor Day and Memorial Day, excellent. Uh, Lots of opportunities to go eat and sights to see. Um, so between all the lakes around here, Table Rock and Lake of the Ozarks, in my opinion, are the best ones. Unless you're that kind of person that really wants to be back in the woods and back in the sticks and don't see neighbors or need a restaurant or a gas station, I would go to Bull Shoals. There you can hide away and nobody would find you for a while. Um, Same way Truman. You can't get on Truman very close. I forgot Truman. Uh, Pomme de Terre, you can't get very close to Pomme de Terre. I mean, if you really sit back and look at those lakes that I mentioned, um, which ones allow houses very close, and you say, oh, well, that explains why I don't see very many boat docks on Pomme de Terre, or very many boat docks on Truman, or very many boat docks on Bull Shoals. It's because the Corps won't allow you to get very close. So,
Wow.
but
I was
yeah,
talking with Jeremy Lawyer. He was on the show a few episodes back, and the question I asked him was, 'cause he fishes all those lakes. He kind of lives right smack
yeah.
between them. I said, of those lakes, which do you think currently holds the largest largemouth bass? And he said, if he had to guess, he'd say Table Rock. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, really don't know, but I would say I know that there's some giants in Stockton. It doesn't get the pressure Table Rock gets, and there's one lake that we're all forgetting about, and I haven't even mentioned, and that's the little lake between Table Rock and Bull Shoals, Taneycomo. And Taneycomo has got some giant bass in it, and they eat trout. So I think that's probably the the hidden gem right there.
And when you say giants, what are you talking? 8 pounders, 10 pounders?
Eight pluses, yeah, eight to 11s.
Interesting. What is your personal best here in Missouri?
Uh, Seven something. Um, I caught it last year in a Toyota. Uh, Matter of fact, I caught it on the brush buster, flipping a brush tackle HD brush buster on a 3/16 sinker, flipping it around. I caught an 801 on Grand Lake in the Toyota.
Wow.
So
So there's a bait that I want to talk to you about specifically today, and it's this one right here. This is right out of my tackle box. I actually paid money for this at Denny Dennis up here
good,
in Fenton, Missouri.
good.
It is the worldwide buzzer that you worked
Hope
with Tackle HD to create.
hope they charge you double for that. Thank you. Uh,
Talk to me a little bit about this. It's something that I'm sure a lot of people that are involved in fishing would like to do, have their own signature bait.
yeah.
Talk to me about uh, how the back and forth went, deciding like, if we're gonna have my name on it, it needs to be like this. What did you insist on this thing
Well,
doing?
first off, uh, Troy and Aaron at the time. I don't think Aaron's there anymore, but Troy and Aaron, give me an opportunity to tackle HD. Uh, Tackle HD was my title sponsor for 2 years, and the very first thing Troy wanted to do or ask me, is there anything out there that you'd like, that you would brand, you would put your name on, that you'd like, that is reasonable, that we could look at possibly building? And I said yes. And he said, what? And I said, a buzz bait. I said, a versatile buzz bait. And here's what I want it to do. And here's the components, or here, not so much the components, but the layout of it. And I visited with Troy, and I visited with Aaron. And after visiting with them, they come up with a couple ideas. Troy had some molded up. I wanted a heavier wire hook. or heavier wire. I wanted a blade that wasn't 3 foot away from my hook. I wanted a good hook. I wanted a fairly flat head, and I wanted that blade to be able to hit the head and head knock. But at the same time, if I wanted to flex it up, I want that to just regular squeak buzzbait, just squeak and squall, and come up with a few molds, come up with a few things, and within 90 days, really, after sitting down and talking, within 90 days, they had it nailed. They had made a few adjustments to the head and cut the head up a little bit, which was no big deal to me. And lo and behold, I said, we don't need a ton of colors. Here's what I would build color wise, blade wise, blah, blah, blah. And Troy and Aaron did not miss a beat, did not blink, said, come back, throw it, tell us what you think, use it. I walked down on my bank. I had one in my hand. Matter of fact, I did a video that day with it. And it sounded like a big block coming through the water when it's head knocking. And I think I got to catch a couple of fish on this, guys, to see how the hookup is. And lo and behold, they nailed it. We got it done. It only took a couple of tries, but it is the most versatile buzzbait on the market, whether you want to head knock with it in cooler, colder water, or you want to squeak along with it. And what's cool about it too, and we didn't design it this way, but what happened is, and I owe Troy a video on it. I've got to get a video guy to come down and do it. But what I realized is when you throw this buzz bait, you can, it won't helicopter on you. It won't draft and grab air and helicopter on you. It's amazing how far you can throw this thing. And the great thing too, I wanted it where you could fish it with a skirt. So I wanted a beefier collar, and I wanted a lead keeper and a wire keeper. So if I didn't want to fish a skirt and throw a swimmer on there or a toad on there, I could. And so they made it that way. It comes equipped with a skirt, but if you want to throw a swimmer on there or a toad on there, you can. And you don't have to own 3-4 different brands of buzz baits. That's it. And I carry black-headed ones and white-headed ones. Troy sends me mine where I can put them together, so I'm not carrying all the packaged products. So I carry my own blades and my own rivets or whatever those pop rivet thingies are. I forget the names of them. And carry the blades and carry the heads. And if I want a gold blade and a black head, I slide that on. If I don't want a white head and a white skirt and a silver blade, I build it right there on the spot. And it is the most versatile buzz bait I've ever thrown. And Tackle HD listened and built the proper bait.
And for everybody watching, the website you see listed down below, tacklehd.com, you can find it there. We've got several colors. It comes in several different weight options. Check it out. It's the Worldwide Buzzer, designed with our friend here, James Worldwide Watson. A lot of the retailers around here, I know up in the St. Louis area, Denny Dennis has it. That's where I bought it. I've seen it over at Dunn's. So it is out there. If not, jump on the website.
Tackle Warehouse, Lake of the Ozarks, Fitz has got them here. Table Rock Extreme Outdoors has got them. I think Bait Works is carrying them in Springfield. Maybe someday they'll be in Bass Pro. I don't know, but talk about how things evolve from there. I'm known for my top water fishing, and got a great relationship with Gail Julian, and the guys at Burtis Rods. When we built a few rods, and I built a rod just specifically, or they did, and I helped them design a rod specifically for throwing a buzzbait. And it's a Burtis Jewel buzzbait rod. It's 7 foot 7 inches long, and with braided line and my fast quantum reel, my hookup ratio with the buzzer is tremendously good.
What sort of line would you recommend when you're throwing one of these?
Always braid, 50 to 65 pound braid. When I'm in open water that doesn't have a lot of obstacles in my way, I'm throwing it on 50 and then getting the distance out of it. if I'm around boat dock cables or lakes that have zebra mussels and stuff like that, I want a heavier line. I go to 65.
So, James, what is next for you as far as tournaments for 2022? What do you got coming up in the next few months?
Got got a Bass Pro Tour event. The fourth starts the 4th of August. Practice does. That's in Cayuga, New York. Then we've got another Bass Pro Tour event. The last one at Mille Lacs. Is that Minnesota or Michigan? I forget. I'm geographically challenged at times.
Same.
Right now, if you guys want to see some good television, Ultimate Match Fishing started their new season 4 weeks ago. I was on this last weekend fishing against Paul Elias, and I'm on and next weekend or the weekend after fishing against Jonathan Van Dam. There's some good fishing shows that we shot back in March airing now. I've got the World Championship with the USA team at Lake Murray, South Carolina. We've got the General Tire Team Series coming up. I fish in November. And talking about the fishing business, I'm an on-the-water commentator for the National Pro Fishing League, National Professional Fishing League. So I've got to be up at Lake Erie, Sandusky Bay here in a few weeks to do on the water with that league. So
I bet you were perfect at that job.
I wasn't perfect at the last one. I'd had some issues where I didn't know who or what I was talking about, and, I really owe apologies to people for how shit I did at the last one. But I'll make it up on this next one.
But James Worldwide Watson, he's online at jameswatsonfishing.com. That's his main website. On Instagram at The Real James Watson, and you can find him on YouTube. Search for JMFW Worldwide. James, it's a pleasure to get to talk to you face to face, and thank you for being a part of our show, man. Best of luck.
Hey, thanks for having me.